right, welcome back to the Friday show. It's been a while. I'm Scott Jagow, along with Ray Paulick. Ray, we've been off for quite a while, on the shelf, on a layoff, whatever you want to call it. How you feeling? How do you do off a layoff?
Well, I'm fresh, not particularly fit, so I think I'm going to need a race or two before I'm back in the full swing of things here. So
All
let's
right,
see how it goes.
we'll take it easy at first. We'll start with the Eclipse Awards tomorrow at Gulfstream Park. Most of the categories, not a lot of drama. I think everyone knows American Pharoah's Horse of the Year and 3-year-old, the 2-year-olds Nyquist and Songbird. A lot of the categories are pretty clear. One thing that might be interesting to discuss, though, is should the connections of American Pharoah sweep all the human categories? So trainer, owner, breeder, and jockey. What do you think?
Well, I like to study history, and when I went back to the 1970s and I looked at what happened with Secretariat, Seattle Slew, and Affirm, the three Triple Crown winners, not in any instance was there a clean sweep. So you have to go back to actually 1981 and John Henry to find a year when one horse carried the owner, breeder, trainer, and jockey into the Eclipse Awards winning category.
Part of me thinks, let's say jockey, Javier Castellano should win again because he had the best numbers and the most graded stakes and all of that, versus Victor Espinosa, who didn't have the overall year. He had the one big horse. On the other hand, the Eclipse Awards are so subjective, and voters go off in all kinds of directions depending on the year. So a couple years ago, they gave the trainer award to Dale Romans. He didn't have the best numbers of the year. The voters maybe decided, I think it's Romans' turn. He had a great season. Let's give it to him.
There's an intangible here too, Scott, and that is it's not just the numbers and not just the horse, but it's how they carry themselves throughout the year. And no one can argue that the American Pharoah connections from jockey Victor Espinosa to trainer Bob Baffert to owner Ahmed Zayat and his family, they did everything right. They made the horse available to the public. They didn't dance all the dances, but they danced just about all the dances. I think you have to factor that in, and I think that it will probably weigh heavily on the minds of a lot of the people who voted.
Well, you can watch the pre-show coverage and then the ceremony tomorrow night beginning at 6:30 and 8 o'clock. It's all available on expressbet.com. Let's move on.
And City Sensation opening up the first leg of the Rainbow Six Jackpot.
So, Ray, on Monday, the Stronich Group's Portland Meadows launched this new jackpot wager where the horses started out, they're only going 2 furlongs. It's something very different. They've got a whole little model around it. But it is the Stronich Group, and we expect that. And the very next day, on Tuesday, Frank Stronich proposed a completely new idea, a $12 million World Championship race where the owners would each put in $1 million and it'd be winner take all. Let's talk about that one. What do you think?
Well, at first blush, it's crazy, but that's what people said to John Gaines when he proposed the Breeders' Cup back in 1982. In fact, one of his friends said, "Gee, John, I didn't know you smoked marijuana." He thought the idea was so crazy. And that formula was based on breeders putting up money to race the horses they bred. That's worked pretty well. What's different here is that it's only 12 we're talking about. And I don't know if you can come up with 12 people who are going to put up $1 million.
I don't think you are, and I don't necessarily think that's the point, though. It's an idea that can evolve into something else. So the Breeders' Cup has evolved into a bigger thing and a different thing than it was first envisioned to be. This could be that way as well. For example, instead of having the owners each put up $1 million, because let's face it, the 12 horses don't have an equal chance to win the race. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. What if you had more of an auction concept where people were bidding and buying shares on the horses, and then there was this pool, and then the winner got the majority share or whatever? I think the basic idea is that Stronich is thinking different, and he's thinking about a different business model for racing, because clearly the business model we have right now isn't perfect and could use some fresh ideas.
The thing I like about it is we've learned over the years that big events sell, and this is a huge event. It's like every racetrack can have a statue, but there's only one racetrack that has a Pegasus.
Yeah, a gigantic statue. All right, let us know what you think. Do you think this Stronich $12 million idea will actually come to fruition? Take our poll on the website, PaulickReport.com. Now, before we leave, I want to ask you, Ray, quickly, what are you most looking forward to this year?
Well, that's tough. We got the Triple Crown coming up, but My year, sort of one of the highlights of the year for me is going out to Del Mar, being their opening day. And this year, hearing Trevor Denman's voice after not being at Santa Anita for the meeting that opened on December 26th, hearing his voice again behind the microphone is something I'm looking forward to a lot.
All right, I'm going to say I'm looking forward to a match between Songbird and Beholder, if that ever comes about, and I hope it does. Songbird looks just unbelievable, and Beholder, she had a setback at the end of the year. Hopefully she comes back in great form. That could be the big rivalry this year. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, the fact that she's even racing as a 6-year-old, I mean, I want to thank Mr. Hughes for keeping her in training another year. I mean, what a sportsman.
All right. That's going to do it for this edition of the Friday Show. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.